Hello, it's James here. Welcome back to my channel. I hope you're doing okay. It's been a while since I said that. I forgot what I was saying. It is absolutely pouring with rain today. It's a typical British summer, which is just so lovely. But it doesn't matter because I can just sit in here with my plants and it will be fine. So I've just moved into a new space. For those of you who were aware of that, I am here. If you're not aware, that has happened. Things are not kind of set up as I would like them to be, so obviously this mess of plants that I'm surrounded in at the moment is not how things normally are. There's like a big bay window here, and there are some plants here, like this Thai constellation stays pretty much here. There's a variegated monstera over here, which is here. There's my big variegated monstera over there. But I brought everything here really just to hide the fact that the things in the background still look messy. We're waiting for things. There are still boxes everywhere. Typical moving stuff. So this is a continuation in my little sort of appreciation of specific plant groups. Like I say, as always, I'm not a botanist. I'm just a human who likes plants and I sometimes talk about them. So if there's something that I say that is incorrect or wrong or you know better, please let me know down in the comments below. And please link stuff to me. I always love to have something concrete and researched to read if possible. So we've done my top 10 philodendron in my top 9. I can't remember, the number changes, the number is not as it should be. I think it was like top 9 and then I did top 7 because I didn't have as many plants of monstera or something. We're going to do Hoya today, and Hoya is one of these groups of plants that I could do 10 of these videos, I feel like, because all of the Hoya that I have at the moment I really like. Who are we going to start with? Okay, this is a relatively recent one. And I'm super excited about it, although I had a look yesterday. This is, sorry, I'll tell you what it is and then we'll talk about it. This is a Hoya CLEMENSIORUM, or an CLEMENSIORUM, which means like has an affinity to a CLEMENSIORUM. And it's beautiful. It was a gift from a friend. It has very special kind of textured leaves, which as they mature and get like larger, they're really striking. This veining becomes very pronounced. Sorry, the leaves aren't the cleanest. But it's getting a new one through here, which is very exciting. So we'll see how that does in the grow tent. I have a new grow tent. We will do like a tour at some point. I'll show you everything. Once everything's settled in, maybe I'll do my first ever like houseplant tour, which is a thing that people have been asking for a long time, but I've always hated where I lived, so I didn't do that. But maybe we'll do that soon. So yeah, I was looking at this and I feel like I saw a root mealy, but I can't see one now. So I'll have a look through this. I saw that yesterday evening. I'll have a look through because it might just have been a bit of perlite. There's always perlite everywhere, but I had root mealies a little while ago. Some of you might remember. So I'm just being extra cautious. I got this as a gift from a friend, and it's just been doing super well. Like, it's rooted well into the moss, which is nice. Was that it? Oh, I think it's perlite. Anyway, I will update you on that. But yeah, it's a beautiful little Hoya. It's growing very well. It actually activated up at the top here and then I knocked it and it died, unfortunately. That happens with Hoya. But they're very resilient and they're pretty easy to root. So generally, as a rule, when you're propagating Hoya, sort of as opposed to Aroids, or Monstera philodendron, that kind of Aroid, that's what I'm thinking of mainly. With Hoya, you really want to go for the woody growth, so kind of the lower down the plant you go, the easier and more likely the plant is to survive, if that makes sense. I find with a lot of Monstera and philodendron, the lower down the plant you go, the older the cutting is, the less likely it will root quickly and start growing quickly. Obviously, if you take the very tip cutting, that's a different thing, but you kind of want the cutting to be relatively fresh. Whereas with Hoya, go for the really mature parts of the plant if you're going to take a cutting. Yeah, doing really great. Hoya affinity CLEMENSIORUM or CLEMENSIORUM, I'm not totally sure. The IDs are a little bit difficult to keep track of sometimes. Next Hoya, this one I've had for ages and it is sort of a slow, the rain is mad. Wow, just sheets of water. Sorry if you can hear lots of rain behind. Hopefully it doesn't come through too much. This is my Hoya manipurensis, variegated Hoya manipurensis. Like as an unvariegated plant, it's really striking. It has very interesting shaped leaves. I've shown this plant for quite a while because I've had it for quite a while. And if you have seen it before, you can see that it really hasn't grown all that much. This top segment here, so this little grouping of leaves, is the new growth. And this lower part has been the same since I got it, well over a year ago at this point. So it's really taken a long time to kind of, for me to get the hang of what it likes, because now that I understand what it wants, it's pretty easy to care for, and basically what it wants is pon. So if you're struggling with a Manipurensis, stick it in pon, it loves it. And now it's a little bit more flexible about where I put it, but for a long time it had to be like on a specific shelf in very specific lighting. I could only water it like once every 2 weeks, whereas with my other Hoya, I water them whenever, and they're fine. So yeah, it's doing okay. It's got really, really interesting. It doesn't come through obviously as clearly in the newer leaves, but you can see at the base. Hopefully if it's going to focus on that, that'd be nice. It's kind of streaking yellow. It gets a little bit of red where the Hoya's been a bit sun-stressed. But yeah, it's a really lovely plant, and mainly it's in the top because I'm happy that it's growing. It has pissed me off quite a lot, so yeah, we'll see if it stays around, but at the moment I'm just happy that it's happy. Then we have, this one's really exciting, and it's kind of morphing into what I expected it to be, which is fun. This is a Hoya KENEJIANA NUGGET. The less mature leaves, you can kind of see, don't have anything super interesting. They're just slightly variegated leaves. But the more mature leaf, so this leaf that's come through in slightly better conditions, is just so interesting. I mean, it's not going to focus. But can you see how like warped and twisted it is? And then it has this line of variegation, which in the highlight has turned slightly pink through the center. And they're just really, really lovely. So I'm very excited for this to really kind of get going and show me what it can do. I'll put a picture up of a better looking plant so you can get the idea of why I'm excited about it. But yeah, I think it's going to be super fun to grow. So far, very easy. I literally haven't moved it out. It's just in a normal potting mix that it was sent in with a little bit of perlite, and it's been very, very easy. So Hoya in general, super easy. If you can provide highlight, warmth, and decent humidity, they're completely fine. Obviously that changes slightly depending on the Hoya you have. There are some that seem to like very different things, particularly if you want to get them to bloom. But to keep things growing, you can kind of use very, very consistent conditions for them. I'm very, very low maintenance in terms of my plant. My grow tent is the same temperature throughout. There's a slightly lower light end now that I have a larger one. A lower light end where I have like anthurium and some begonia and homelamina and things like that. And then there's a highlight end where I've got a lot of philodendron and monstera and stuff, and Hoya, and soon to be Nepenthes, but they are currently isolating because there was a little bit of a pest issue with those. This next one, this is a Hoya CARNOSA Nova Ghost. This is one of those Hoya that everyone says is different. Ooh, lightning, did you see that? Yeah, lots and lots of rain. Everyone says there's a difference between this and the CARNOSA Grey Ghost, but no one knows what those differences are really. Wow. Thunder. So nice. So yeah, this is supposedly the Nova Ghost. I trust the seller who I got it from, and just through observation of the growth pattern of this and the other CARNOSA Grey Ghost that I have, this one is significantly faster. The leaves are a slightly different shape and the texture is a little bit different. The CARNOSA Grey Ghost that I have here, this is not part of the list. I just brought it here for comparison, although it is a lovely, lovely plant. It's not like super high up at the moment. So if you look at them both, obviously the colouring of the leaves is very, very similar. But the leaves in this one are a little bit sort of smoother, more rounded, and a little bit thicker, so they're juicier leaves, whereas the leaves on this can be really, really warped, and they're a little bit more sort of cardboard-like and also hairier than these ones. And the only other thing I've noticed is the speed of growth. This one got growing much, much faster than the Grey Ghosts, they're lovely. But yeah, I don't know if you can see, like if I show you a specific leaf there, the length of it, the shape, the texture, the kind of wobbling to it, and then I bring this one over here, like just how consistent the colouring is. I mean, this one is slightly different, but every plant has strange things going on. So yeah, I don't really know. It's one of these plants, it's like, does it matter if it's a different plant? Probably not. I really like it just because it's growing really quickly, and the intensity of the silver there is something special to me, I think. But yeah, if you can get a Grey Ghost, I think they're basically the same. Like, you don't really need both in your collection if you just want one that looks like that. Okay, moving on. How many have we done? We've done 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to go, ooh, this one's a lovely one. This is quite popular at the moment, I think. I've seen them around a lot more recently, which is lovely, and for actually pretty decent prices, which is good. This is a Hoya AH074, so again, another silvery one. There are quite a lot of silvery ones here. I think that's to be expected. I've said this before, but sort of really intense splash on Hoya, intense veining, and sometimes variegation, but it's really not the big thing for me with Hoya, is what I like. I want the leaves to be beautiful, and if the blooms are beautiful as well, then that's amazing. We love the combo. So yeah, this is a Hoya AH074. It's a pretty splashy one, so you can see there, this is the colour of the leaf below, and then it has this splash over the top. It's just a layer of air beneath the very, very top surface of the leaf. So if you kind of scratch over this splash, it disappears. It's just a little pocket of air, it's like a little bubble, which is kind of interesting. So if you have a splashy Hoya and you're okay scratching with your fingernail, have a go with that, it's kind of fun. It's really lovely. I don't know a whole load about it. I haven't been able to find a lot of information about it, but the care is very, very easy. It was slow to get started. I think the person who I bought this from, I got it off Facebook, had it for about 6 months and it didn't do anything. But when I got it, I put it under very, very, very bright light in slightly warmer conditions than my other Hoya, and it got started pretty quick. The rain is insane. It's like a river pouring down the street. It's quite nice to be able to sit here and just like, I sit here, I've got my little coffee here. So I sit here and I sip away and watch the cars go by. As you can see, I have no trellises for my Hoya, which is terrible. In my previous grow tent, I had them on shelves, so I had them on a lower shelf and next to them was a high shelf. And all of my Hoya, by the time I had to take them out to move, had grown up onto, well, a lot of them had grown up onto those other shelves, so they're kind of using that as a trellis. So I was being a little bit lazy. I just have these little sticks at the moment, which I had for ages, but I will try and get some slightly nicer trellises for them. Another one I've spoken about loads. This is the Hoya CRASSIPETIOLATA. I lost myself for a moment. CRASSIPETIOLATA splash, and I love this plant. It's really, really lovely. It's just so fast. I've cut this plant so many times. The only other Hoya that I have that compares with this in terms of growth rate is the New Guinea Ghost, so the Hoya Nicholsonii New Guinea Ghost. This one is just, for one, it's gorgeous. Like if I bring it in, it has, like I said before, a couple of those features that I really like. So it has this veining, it's got really nice dark leaves, and then it's got some pretty intense splash. And you can see a little bit here. It's less because I've moved it a little bit further away, but the splash does go a little bit pink if you have it under super bright light, which is pretty typical for Hoya. So if you're into the sun-stressed look, that's something you can do. I like it on some Hoya, like on this CLEMENSIORUM, I'd really like to get it a little bit darker on my Gunung Gading, which I don't have here. I love the way it's wound around here. Such a clever little plant. Also, you might notice, I got a question about this on Instagram a couple of days ago, and I just thought I'd say here. The way this vine is growing, the grow light, sort of relative to this plant, is over here, which is why the leaves are pointing up this way, but the vines grow away from the light. The plant can detect where the shadow is, where the lowest light is, so it grows towards that because it knows there's something there to grow up. So yeah, if you notice your Hoya growing away from a light source, that's what it's doing. It's looking for something to climb. And that happens quite a lot with other climbers as well. So I know that some philodendron do that. I know the Monstera do that. If you have like a large Monstera like the Thai constellation, typically they'll face their leaves outward and then grow back towards the wall behind because they're looking for that support. Okay, we have two more plants. I have this here. This wasn't part of the list, but this was just the Nicholsonii New Guinea Ghost that I spoke about. It's looking very small and sad because I cut my plant up entirely. It was very large. I have a ooh, lightning. I have a picture of part of it on my Instagram from a while ago, but it got root mealies really badly and it was isolated in a separate place. Thunder. But it got really intense root mealy bugs, so I took it apart, I chopped it up, I treated everything, and this is a part of the plant that's kind of recovering, but now they're doing well. I've got a bunch of propagations going, and like I said, they are so fast. So within a couple of months, this will be just huge again, which is very fun. Final two plants. This one's lovely. I mean, I say this about all of them, but this one is sort of especially lovely. This is a Hoya RINZI Borneo, and it's just so beautiful. So it's got this matte texture, sort of matte leaf surface. It's got some splash, it's got some veining, and the really lovely thing about them is this purple backing It's not coming across super intensely on camera, but in person it's pretty purple. Like there it kind of just looks like grey, but it's just really lovely. It goes away a little bit in the older leaves, but it's still there. Anything with like a purple or red back seal, so lower leaf surface, it's just amazing. Really lovely. So yeah, this is not a super fast growing Hoya compared to all the other ones I have. I have not cut this one since I got it, and I got it at the same time as my Nicholsonia New Guinea Ghost, which has been cut endlessly. So I've had it for over a year, and this is pretty much the growth that it's put out in a year. It's very possible that I'm not giving it ideal conditions. Roots are looking great, but I'm happy with it. Like it seems healthy. The leaves are really firm, chunky. It's got an active growth point here, even though I snapped off this part when we were moving. And overall, it's just really lovely. It can deal with quite high light as well. I have it very close to the grow light, and it's not sun stressing at all, which tells me that it's enjoying it. Oh look, another little growth point there. Don't know if you can see. Active. Final plant. Oh no, I have more. I have one more. So, second to last, and this is a really beautiful one. It was hidden behind that bigger one, which is why I didn't see it. This is a Hoya Sulawesiana. Sulawesiana, I think I'm saying that right. It's in a little jam jar. That's okay, because I got it as an unrooted cutting, and it was the leaves are too heavy to just put it in a small pot, so I stuck it in here to prop it up. But now it's large enough, you can see with the roots, that it will be fine in a pot, so I'll move it on pretty soon. It's just rooting in pon, and it has these just lovely, long, textured leaves. They're really unique for Hoya, I find. Like, can you see that? So pretty. Absolutely a Hoya. If you see it, grab it. Again, I've seen them around a little bit more. But yeah, I'm just a massive fan of this one. I'm curious to see like the growth pattern, because this is the thing that some people don't like about Hoya. Like when they're very small, like this Nova Ghost, the kind of compact growth pattern is really nice, and I think people love that. And then when they start to vine, people don't like it as much. Like they get a little bit messy, and I totally understand that. And that's, if you don't like messy plants, you can cut your plant and have loads of propagations to share. But I am curious about how this one does, because the idea of like a really bushy, long-leafed creature is really nice. So I'm just interested to know whether it will vine really heavily. I haven't really looked at any mature pictures of it, so yeah, very excited about this one. Just something different, something special. This is my longest specialist Hoya, I think. It's looking a little bit sad, because this is the lower part of the plant that I've had for I don't know, like a year and a half, well over a year and a half now. I haven't been collecting Hoya for all that long. It's only been about a year and a half. Is that right? So I got my first Hoya in the winter of 2019. So it's been, yeah, a year and a half. And that was a sad winter. Lots of Hoya died while I tried to learn what to do with them. But we're kind of at a good spot now. Bright light, all the way. So yeah, this is Hoya Michele or Michelle. I think it's supposed to be pronounced Michele. Thank you, Rose from Yoga and Plants with Rose. She told me about that. And it's just beautiful. It's got like these little abs on the leaf. I'm not sure what these are. I posted this on my Instagram and everyone was like, oh, your Hoya's sick and dying. And it's like, yeah, it's not very happy. But I'm not sure. I don't think these pink spots are anything super tragic. But if you know what they are, let me know, because they appear on only this plant, on only the Michele's leaves, even on these. So I've got a pot of some of the propagations I took, because this Hoya got massive in my old grow tent and I had to cut it up. So even on these much younger leaves, you can see like here, the pink spots are starting to come in. I think it might just be a feature of this plant, honestly. Yeah, there as well, you can see. Maybe a lighting thing as well, just a little bit too bright light. But they are beautiful. The leaves on this plant are so nice. They're so structural and gorgeous, and I'm just a huge fan of this. I think it's one of those things, if you could take one Hoya, if I had to leave now and only take one Hoya, this would be the Hoya, I think. I say that now, let's see. But yeah, it's just really lovely. And because it was my first Hoya that was a little bit harder to find, but I didn't know it was harder to find, I just got it and it was pretty cheap. and it turned out to be something really, really lovely. Just because Michele in itself, I don't think are very difficult to find, but I've not seen very many, particularly the lower part of this plant and some of the other propagations as well, but I've not seen any with splash that's this intense. So the genetics in this plant are pretty decent. And that is it. Long video, lots of Hoyas. Hopefully you survived that. Let me know down in the comments below what Hoya you're loving at the moment, and if there are any special ones that I need to keep my eye out for. I do have quite a lot, so yeah, a lot of Hoya. I have to do like a full Hoya collection again, because the last one I did, a lot has happened since then. Many Hoya have joined the family. And at some point I will show you my grow tent. I'll show you a little bit of a tour of like the plants that I have around in the open space in this new apartment, this new flat. There aren't too many, because like it's hard for me when I compare the, well, it's so hard when I compare the conditions within the tent to the conditions even out in the best places of the flat. Like it just doesn't compare. So I always end up feeling really, really bad for the plants that would like just a little bit more humidity. Like this Splendid currently is out and about. It's doing good. So far, no browning. It's doing okay. But I know that if I did have it in the grow tent, it would be growing like twice as fast. So at some point I might shift it back in there. If only I had space for like 20 grow tents or a greenhouse. That'd be lovely. All right, I'm gonna let you go. Just gonna sit and enjoy the lightning for a little bit longer, finish my coffee, and hopefully you enjoyed this. Hit the like button if you want to, subscribe to the channel if you like, and if you want to check out more of my plants or updates on these plants, go follow my Instagram @slugplants. I post there pretty regularly. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.